Hey everybody, this is Rev J with Rev J Rides. I'm riding alongside of these guys. I'm just trying to show you some of the guys that I rode with. We're at the Off the Grid Ministries motorcycle tour is what we're doing. And we're currently riding to the Shiloh National Battleground, National Park. Just kind of trying to show everybody these guys. I believe this is Clark that I'm riding behind here. We're about to make this left-hand turn, or I would have tried to pass a few more. I'll try here in a second to get past some of them and just kind of show you the different guys that we were riding with. There was 11 bikes on this trip. Had a great time. Our guide ahead is from this area, and he knows the battleground, battlefield or national park pretty well too. This guy I've ridden with several times. In fact, most of these guys I have. All of these fellows are in the ministry in some shape or form. Some are pastors, some are evangelists, some are workers at a Christian camp, a variety of things like that. Director of missions, an associate pastor. Got a lot of good guys on this trip, and they were a blessing to me. This fellow right here, I've pointed him out before. His name's Joel. He's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. Here's Billy Ray. He was the oldest fellow on the trip, but you couldn't tell it. Man, that fellow just keeps going like a Energizer bunny or something. I believe this is Mark, if I remember right. I've ridden with him a few times too. He's come to the church over in Clarksville, Tennessee, where I pastor. Now this is our guide right here. They call him Tank. Tank knows a lot about this stuff that we're about to see. Rode through some nice countryside, some pretty areas, nice little towns. Thinking we're going to turn into the national battleground, but national battlefield, national park, I guess. But it is the battleground, Shiloh National Battleground. One of the biggest battles in the Civil War, especially in Tennessee. There's a lot that changed on this day. Once again, we're in some pretty countryside as we're finding our way into the park. There's really not a lot of Tennessee that would be considered ugly. It's all pretty, especially this time of the year where, everything's so green, my goodness. Springtime with as much rain as we've had, there's a lot of green out there right now. It's really pretty. So here we are, we're turning into the National Battlefield, National Park. There's some neat stuff to see along the way. I'm not going to show everything. I didn't do a whole ride through because there's actually a lot of ground to cover, but I'm going to cover just a little bit of it. We pulled in here and rode through and rode up to the main visitor center. While we were there, we read some plaques about the history of it all, the different armies and stuff that fought there. And believe it or not, we actually did some ministry while we were at this place. While we were parked, there was a grandmother and her grandson that you're going to see. You'll see them in just a minute. They came up and were interested in the motorcycle. We got to talk with them and share with them and He got on my bike. I started it up for him so he could rev it up and everything. That was cool. He had a good time. And then some of the other pastors or leaders, one of them actually gave him a ride on his motorcycle. They went around the parking lot. We talked about Jesus and the church, and while we talked to them, another person rode up on a motorcycle that wasn't with us, and he wound up coming over and talking with us. He was also a follower of Jesus. That was cool. So here we are with our bikes parked. I think there's 11 of them. Here's the young man and his grandmother.
There you go, Raylan. You are ready, man. What I'm gonna do is Bigfoot. But anyway, that's my number. It's pretty over there. I mean,
all right, guys, I was going to take us to a couple of spots and stop, but other than doing that, I think I'll just share just a little bit of what I know here, and then we'll head on towards Corinth and get us something to eat. There's so many things about this place that's unbelievable, man. I have a book at home that's again, it's letters that soldiers wrote, both Union and Confederate soldiers. It's amazing. There's one letter that a boy wrote his mom. He was 15, and they was coming from Corinth, coming towards Peter's Landing, which is just down the bottom of this hill, and the Union soldiers advanced on them. Well, they just lit into them, man, and they were kicking tail. They said everybody took off running, and said they fought all that night somewhere north of here, stopped, the next morning started again. They had them on the run. He said about 30 minutes, Confederate soldiers started coming this way, and he couldn't understand. We're killing this. What's happening? Well, the Union had found a stronghold and pushed back. But there's tons of stuff like that. One of the spots I was going to take you, if you're ever down here, I do not remember what it's called. Maybe the Hornet's Nest. But there's a straight row of 26 cannons. If you'll look, it's either the very first cannon or the third cannon. I can't remember. You can take a flashlight and shine in there, and there's still a cannonball in that barrel.
I'm glad that our nation chose to protect the parks. Here's something about the Ohio Army, the Army of the Mississippi, and then the Army of Tennessee, Tennessee. This place is really worth visiting. Check it out. Look everything over. Look at these cannons, man. This is what the guy was telling us about. Tank was telling us about this. We were looking for that cannonball in there. The Thunder in the Thicket, this was called. They were hiding and jumped them. There's an old church here on the battleground, a United Methodist church. I believe it was Shiloh United Methodist. Here's the cemetery near the church. Of course, there were some soldiers buried there. It's interesting how they built this church. Look at the rock in places, and then in other places there's brick. It's like they ran out of the rock or something and they had to use brick. There are bikes parked right in front of the old log church, Shiloh Log Church. I think everybody ought to visit a place like this. Very historical, lots of fun. Hey, please like, share, and subscribe.